Good evening, and welcome to Let's Talk Access, a social media program produced and presented by the UWA Global Campus. I'm your host, Cherise Glasgow. Thank you for joining us from wherever you are on the World Wide Web. Today, we speak to three of our most recent 2024 graduates from the UWA Global Campus, and they will tell us about their stories and experiences studying at the campus. My very special guests today are Shanda Coffey Johnson from Dominica, Dr. Sean Lee Man Manteet Brown from Jamaica, and Dr. Lorraine Nero from Trinidad and Tobago. Ladies, welcome to Let's Talk Access. It's a pleasure to have you here with us today. I'm going to let you introduce yourself and share a bit about who you are and what you studied at the Global Campus.
Good evening, everyone. I am Shanda Coffey Johnson from Dominica. I am a principal of an elementary school, Caleb John Lura Primary School. I've been an educator for the last 21 years. I am a mother of three, a wife, a devout Catholic. Over the last 3 years, I pursued my major in management, educational, and leadership. And it is because of my love for education and my passion to be a good leader, a role model to my children, and to gain the experience as well as the knowledge that I went on this journey.
Good evening,
everyone.
Go ahead, Sean.
All right, thank you, Lorraine. Hi, everyone. I am Sean Lee Monteith Brown. I'm from Jamaica, and I work as a risk and compliance analyst with the Heart NSTA Trust in Jamaica. So Heart NSTA Trust is the leading TVET provider in Jamaica. So I work in the department that ensures that we are not having any risks materialize. But outside of that, I am married, have been married this year for about 12 years. I'm saying about because I want my husband to say, oh, you don't remember. Anywho, 12 years this year. And I went to the UWA Global Campus and did the Doctor of Education in Teaching and Learning with Emerging Technologies. I'm a part of Cohort 1. So it was really an interesting time for us because we are the first ever cohort. So you can just imagine what that was like. But thank you so much for having me. And over to Lorraine.
Yes, good evening again to the listening audience. It is good to be here. I am Lorraine Nero from Trinidad and Tobago, and I'm a librarian. And I started this program because I always want to remain relevant to my profession and relevant to the persons that I serve. So I did a Doctor of Education in Teaching and Learning with Emerging Technologies. Sean Lee said that she's cohort 1. I like to think of myself as 1.5. And why am I calling myself 1.5? When I started with cohort 1, I started with the postgraduate diploma. And from the postgraduate diploma, I went on to the doctoral program. So I straddled 2 cohorts, but thank God I came through with cohort 1. And a little bit else about me, although I say I'm from Trinidad and Tobago, I'm originally from Tobago, but I reside and work in Trinidad. That's it for me now. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you, ladies. I'm sure we're going to have a very informative and fun discussion here this evening. And just before we get started, let's have a little icebreaker session. And the question I'm going to ask you all is, do you have any quirky study habits or rituals that helped you stay focused? Lorraine, we can start with you.
Yes. So one of the things I like exercising, so I have warm-ups and what I call warm-downs. Good. I have difficulty sitting for 3 hours, for 3 hour stretches, and I can concentrate in 1 hour. So warm-ups for me will be the simple tasks, things I can achieve. For example, if I need to do searches or just check my references, those are my warm-ups before I begin to even do what I have to do. And then my warm down is to say, okay, what have you done and what are you going to do in the next session? So that frames an hour for me, like in any exercise, an aerobics class, etc. 1 hour targets, and I put it down and I go back.
Excellent.
Well, for me, I didn't do my way of trying to ensure that I'm focused wasn't really related to work, like classwork. It was actually Netflix. I would schedule my time to ensure that I have like a half an hour where I just relax, because it was a lot of, when I started the program, it was 2019. So we did 1 full year without COVID and then COVID. So it was online, everything, online work, online learning. Well, we're always online learning. So what I would do is that I had a lot of schedules. So I'd schedule my work time, schedule my Netflix and chill by myself time. And then after I know that I would have maybe done an hour and a half, I said, all right, Sean Lee, time to hit the books and focus. So that is what I would do. I had to do something fun.
If I might jump in, as she said, something fun. Yes, so you see crafts, doing needlework, etc. Those were some of the fun things I did to help me concentrate and focus. So yes, there was fun involved as well for me.
Nice, good.
And whilst for me, I would bask in nature. So anytime I wanted to spend some time concentrating and so on, I would go to the beach, just sit on the shoreline and watch the waves crash. And I would do that like literally every evening when I get home from work, because I live close to the beach, and just get some inspiration from that. Or if I am home, if the weather is not all that for the beach, I would sit on my veranda and just look at the greenery on the mountainside. And I would use that as my calming mechanism, so that when I sit down to write, it's like my body is into it.
Wow. You ladies have a range of activities that you did, and I can see that we have a very diverse, you all have very diverse backgrounds, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about that this evening. Shonda, since you are on the mic, I'm going to ask you, what does access mean to you? You know, access is one of the 3 pillars of our university. So to you, what does access mean in relating to the UWI Global Campus?
Access. I look at the term access as, how do you get in? What happens when you get in? How are you able to complete? Because it's not a physical university where you go into campus and you stay on campus and all of that. So access for me at UWI Global Campus, it started with the orientation process. So I had to familiarize myself with, although I was a past alumni of UWI, because that's where I did my first degree, I still had to go through the orientation program, the orientation process, to get through the different programs, the courses, meet the faculty, and understand what that program was about, because it was something different. And everybody's talking about, oh, the masters, you have to do this and you have to do that. So it was a little bit frightening for me. So I had to go through the entire orientation process to get in. It also meant that I had to understand the whole model and how I would have to submit my assignments, because this was a new program and the requirements, the description was different from what I was used to. So I see access has been very important to pursuing your degree, because you will need to understand what it is that you're going to, especially if you want to emerge successful at the end.
I quite agree with you, Shonda. Definitely. Access is definitely that. And I also think of it as ways within which we can connect. Because in terms of with the global campus, as you said, we don't have the luxury of seeing, or definitely the ways that we connect was very important. And in my program, we had a group of the classmates in my cohort. We formed an hour to empower group. It was a WhatsApp group that we'd meet every Friday, and we would chit chat about the challenges we're having, give tips on how we can actually overcome some of the issues. We discuss our assignments to see if we all had the same understanding. So I believe that that type of connection is exceptionally important too, in terms of ensuring that the access that we're seeking to reach to that final goal is really important as well.
Okay, I just want to take another spin on this idea of access. Now, before I even decided on Open Campus, I started looking at other programs. But one of the things about the Open Campus and the UWI, hands down, it is one of the more affordable ways of training and getting tertiary education for those of us in the Caribbean. So for me, that was key for me to get access to postgraduate learning, that at the end of the day, I'm not saddled with too much debt to pay back. So that aspect of access was important for me.
That is true, Lorraine. It is one of the most affordable programs that I've seen, because
Yes.
I definitely checked as well. And when I checked the cost and even how we're able to pay per semester, that was a breath of fresh air, believe you me. So I definitely agree with you on that.
Did you use the payment plan that we have? Did any of you use
no, I just paid per semester, but just
Okay.
paying per the credits for the semesters was
Yes.
easy. There are some locations, I know of some universities where you have to pay in full. You have to pay for the entire doctoral program in full, or
Yes.
you have to be paying more than the amount that you would pay if you don't pay it in full. So definitely.
So
And
definitely.
then when you start multiplying by foreign exchange, you know, yes.
Yes, and
So
that rate changed on me several times, and it didn't change going down. It went up, but it was still affordable.
yes, yes.
So I used the payment plan, but what worked was that I was still able to go to school, go to work, to get the money so I can pay the plan. So that the payment plan is a benefit for students wishing to pursue. They don't have to leave their jobs to pay for this for their tuition and so.
Excellent.
So definitely flexibility, affordability, that is what access means. I can hear all of that coming out from this discussion. And I want to ask you, I know Sean Lee would have mentioned it in passing, and three of you are from three different Caribbean islands, and we know that the UWI Global Campus operates within over 16 Caribbean islands, as well as we have students from as far away as Ghana and other parts of the world. Did studying with students from across the Caribbean nations change your perspective in any way regarding some of our regional challenges and opportunities, or how did diversity play into your years at the UWI Global Campus?
Okay, one of the things when we started, they started us off and we were placed in different groups to work with. I was lucky and blessed to have in my group somebody from Barbados and somebody from the Bahamas. And those two persons became close friends and followed me through the entire program. And being online in the virtual space is different from being on a landed campus. I've studied on a landed campus, and the landed campuses, you don't necessarily have the opportunity all the time to engage with persons across the Caribbean, because you will find, for example, at Trinidad, more of the students are from Trinidad and Tobago. So that opportunity that was granted to me, I appreciated. And looking back now, in earlier programs, degree programs, I was somewhat hesitant about group work. But after that experience, and I got the support from them and the friendship, it changed my whole perspective. Yes.
My experience was different from yours, Lorraine. My actual first group was a bag of Jamaicans.
Oh
Everybody
boy.
was from Jamaica. So we really didn't. I think there was a gentleman that actually sent us messages for us to form that first group. He didn't live in Jamaica, but he was a Jamaican. I think he was living in Canada at the time. So it was a bag of Jamaicans. But over the years, I actually got to be exposed to persons from different Caribbean islands. And trust me, the cultures are rich. Learning from them, just even how they communicate, how they express themselves, learning about what is happening in their countries and how it relates to our educational landscape in our individual countries or our personal countries. It was really eye-opening. So over the years, it was beneficial, but not in the first instance.
Okay.
It was just my kin, my countrymen.
And I believe that diversity would also have given you all some kind of insight into how the different educational systems and learning systems operated within the other Caribbean countries as well. I see Shonda shaking her head. You can give your insight on the question as well as the comment.
Yes. Working with the diverse cultures, it gave me a better appreciation for where I stood. Because one of the persons that I got really close to was a Grenadian. And when we would share ideas on what is happening, she was like, girl, you're lucky. And whilst I am here in my country thinking that, things are not going as they should go, I'm seeing that there is somebody else who is looking at us. So yes, I had a rich culture shock. My supervisor, who is based in Trinidad, was a Russian or is a Russian. So I was schooled. So there we could see different cultures because, for instance, when we started off our introduction, I would be like, good night, miss, good night, ma'am. And she was like, no, that's not manners. You need to say, good night, doctor, whatever. And then she gave me that being a Russian, that's how you had to do it. So every time I had to be on my P's and Q's, I'm addressing her. I cannot say good night, miss. I have to put in the doctor, whatever. So yes, the culture, it played a real part on the entire process.
And the examples, the case studies. So those discussion forums where we had to discuss topics and people were drawing from their background and putting their case studies. This is how I learned and I became familiar with some of the things that were happening in different places. And Shonda is correct. Sometimes you take things for granted or you think that everyone is at a certain level and some people may have surpassed you and others are still trying to catch up. So having the experiences of people from the Caribbean gave you a breadth and a scope, I think, that I may not have gotten elsewhere. Yes.
Well, I have to tease Lorraine and Sean Lee. How do y'all feel now that y'all have your doctorate and that? Should I be saying Dr. Nero and Dr. Monty Brown? How does that feel now?
Wow. Lorraine, you want to go first?
Yes. So one, I'm fighting some imposter syndrome. So I'm growing into, yes, I'm growing into it. And I think it will take time. I'm just happy that I've completed the program and I've completed successfully. And I'm hoping to do more and to ensure that the credential that I've earned, that I represent well both the University of the West Indies, my family, and myself.
Yeah, well said.
Definitely agree with you, Lorraine. It's a surreal feeling. If there's a saying that says, if was a person, that saying, if that was a person, if was a person, that would be me. Because I've been in the program from 2019 and this is 2024. There were moments when I was saying, Oh, Father, will I ever end? Will it ever end? Will I ever get to the finish line? So when I hear people refer to me as Dr. Such, I look at them like, what who are you talking to? It's almost like, it's me you're talking to. It's just surreal. But
Mhm.
as Lorraine says, and I agree with her fully, it is not just the title. We have to ensure that what we do is that we apply what we would have learned and also ensure that we help to make our countries better. We try to ensure that we add to the plethora of academic literature that's out there, so that whatever we would have done in our research and even moving forward, that we ensure that we add value based on the fact that we would have completed this qualification. So definitely taking some getting used to, Lorraine.
Yes.
Can't manage the doctor still telling people Sean Lee, or if they tell it's weird. It takes time to get used to it, believe me.
I could
Yeah.
only imagine. I'm sure going on though, you would start to get more accustomed.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
I want to remind those who are watching us online, who are listening to us on our YouTube platform, that applications remain open for all programs for the semester starting in January 2025. So you have until Sunday, December 15th to apply for undergraduate programs, and you have until Saturday, just 2 days away, November 30th, to apply for postgraduate programs. You can log on to our webpage at global.uwi.edu/apply. That is global.uwi.edu/apply. So I want to get more into the programs you would have studied. As you would have seen, the title of our session tonight is My Postgraduate Educational Journey. And all three of you, though Shonda did her master's, you would have studied programs within that educational field. So we want to get more into that so that persons who are not only applying for January, but who will apply for these educational programs have some sort of insight. So tell us, what was the best aspect of your journey at the global campus?
All right, so for me, in the Doctor of Education with Teaching and Learning with Emerging Technologies, we have main courses and we have labs, laboratories. So you want to call them main courses, Lorraine? Main courses, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
main courses,
So
yes.
the labs now were where we were able to, it's a technologically driven program. So the labs allowed us to apply the technological competencies that we would have gained in the main module or the main course into this lab. So we would create our own lesson, and it had to have a lot of technology. That for me was one of the greatest highlights because I loved the labs. The labs allowed me to be creative, even though I don't think I'm very creative, but it allowed me to express how I would want my students to learn and to be engaged. So I love the labs, definitely. So that was something that was really good.
Yes, I'm glad you picked up on the labs, because when I was looking at the program, one of the things that drew me to this program was the highly practical element of it. I didn't just want to do a doctorate for the sake of just having a doctorate. I wanted something that would allow me to apply the knowledge in the classroom, or apply it in my circumstances. And you see those labs, I'm sorry, they were just one credit, but we thoroughly enjoyed them. You got to do videos, you got to create lessons, you got to use different tools, etc. And they helped cement what was happening in the theoretical when we were discussing the theory. So now, even after I've graduated, I am using a lot of those tools in my everyday practice. So that stood out for me. Yes,
Excellent.
as
I do
well.
that too. Yeah. I have
Yes.
been I do training in my job. I do a little bit of training. So I definitely have made my training sessions more technologically driven. So people
Yeah.
going onto Mentimeter and different little apps to ensure that they can participate and answer questions and get fictitious prizes like, yeah, those were the prizes. But yeah, definitely. applying it has really been worth it as well.
Yes.
So the management program that I did, management and educational leadership, there are two main components to it, the management aspect and the educational aspect. Through the management process, you were taught the different areas that you need to function effectively as a manager. You would do budgeting, you would do organizational behavior, the whole human resource aspect, because as a principal, you need to know how to deal with your stakeholders effectively. On the flip side, the educational aspect, we looked at curriculum, we looked at integrating technology into the classroom, into teaching and learning and instruction, right? So for me, the fun part of it was learning how to integrate all of those, because we are now in the technological era where the children need to learn those tools, right? So for me, the fun part was the technological courses where we had to create our wikis and our podcasts and those things. So we had to do that. Now that I'm doing my supervision, my clinical supervision for my teachers, I say, hey, I need to see some of those technology. Remember, the children that we are teaching now, they have to function. They are the internet children, the generation. And so I have learned those tools. Yes, I knew them, but the program allowed me to go more in depth into it and how to integrate it effectively into teaching, so I can now spread out that information, disseminate that information to my teachers.
So Shonda, how do you find it's being received by your teachers, especially they might not have the same exposure that you would have had with regards to your master. So how are you finding it, and how easily is it being integrated into that educational system?
To tell you the truth, the younger teachers, they are going with it. For the older ones, it is a struggle. But we have dedicated professional development days. Every other Wednesday is an abbreviated Wednesday, so you end school early and you get to focus on something that can help to develop this, whatever skill that you would have identified. So what I did as I was going through the program, I was centering my professional developments along those lines. So it was strengthening it for me. I could remember for my assignments, and so, as well as it was teaching the teachers the behaviors that I expect them to emulate. So I'm really seeing more of it now. And they too are bringing in ideas as well. So it has motivated them to go out.
Okay. So it looks like a brighter future in that regard.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So I will ask Lorraine and Sean the same question. How do you find what you've learned? How easily is it being integrated or accepted, I should say, within your workplaces?
Okay, I find it's been acceptable. So take, for example, I said I'm a librarian. So one of the things that we did for orientation this year to orient students, we did 2 TikTok videos, right? So so all of that came from, the whole we had a course on using social media to teach. But the 2 videos, one was highly textual based, because again, we learned about textual learners, and the other video was more visual, more performance, the staff members speaking, etc. And we have those on QR codes where people can actually scan and see the videos, etc. And the staff, we have been getting feedback from our staff members to say, well, okay, I prefer the one with the words or with more text, or I prefer to see the one where you all were performing and introducing the resources and stuff like that. So it is in those kind of ways you see that the technology and what I've learned is starting to infiltrate into the everyday practice, right? And people are enjoying it. So in my department, we are now trying to do more social media and content curation to reach learners. As part of my study, I found that learners, the learners were saying, we don't want any video longer than 5 minutes. So things like that came out, it's being applied in practice. Yeah.
Okay,
Awesome. I agree with both Shonda and Lorraine. The difference between us though is that where I work, I'm just working with staff members. So I'm not really in the teaching type of setting right now. But as I would have alluded to this earlier, I'm in the risk management and compliance department. So we have to make persons aware of the importance of risk management and compliance in the organization. So the training that I spoke to earlier, definitely, since I would have been doing this program and completed, the users, the end users of the training would have said to me, man, I like this session. It's more engaging because of the integration of the technology that I would have learned of and that I spoke to earlier. So definitely the beneficiaries are happy with the infusion of technology. They find it to be more engaging, because before we just had a little PowerPoint presentation and I'd say, hi guys, this is risk. And then they would listen and then they'd say, all right, thank you. But no, we're using a bag of different things. We have YouTube videos, we have little voice notes, voicing that is added to different slides. We also have, as I said earlier, Mentimeter, where they scan a QR code for the app. It's a website that they go on and they can participate in quizzes, and they can do word clouds, put in little multiple choice, all kinds of different things. So that made it a little bit more engaging. So for that aspect of it, the culture is definitely growing where I'm working because of the increase and infusion of technology in the training.
Shanley, even though you aren't in a school, you are still a teacher, because
That's
teaching your colleagues might be more
That's true.
challenging than teaching students, quote unquote. And
That's
especially now with corporate organizations trying to have more in-house training and you having to build out those programs, that is definitely a good area that you're in, because you all have these courses sounding very interesting. I like how they're sung, especially now we are within a more social media and technological based age. So the programs that you would have done definitely sound very relevant and have you hitting the ground running, so to speak, within your respected areas. So I want to ask you, in terms of the actual programs you would have done, you've already highlighted some areas of the program which helped you within your day-to-day jobs and workplaces. How actually did you cope with the technology within the program? This is more so as a learner as opposed to you passing on the knowledge to your workplace. How did you deal with the global campus technology that you had to use for your online studies? And did you have any tools or resources such as study tips, study techniques, or apps that you would have used to assist you with your studies?
I think Shonda would have mentioned it earlier. She said that we had a very detailed orientation when we just began our programs. So that orientation really allowed us to not just be introduced to the Moodle platform and how to access UWE-Link, the library resources, but we had to practically do it as well. There were exercises in the orientation that would allow you to say, all right, this is how you access this app. This is how you utilize, I think at the time it was Blackboard Collaborate that we were using for classes. So we did a really thorough and detailed orientation. So from my perspective, I really didn't need anything else outside of what we would have had based on the orientation. I was comfortable with using the different technologies for us to be able to understand what it is that we had to learn, the learning exchange, all of that. I think with the orientation was sufficient for me. I'm not sure about you ladies.
Okay.
I totally agree.
Yes, I agree. There was another platform, the e-portfolio that we use.
Yes.
Right. I'm not sure if other programs are using it, but this e-portfolio is where we would create our videos and we will put them online or different tools, etc. It took some getting used to, but after, let's say, a semester of using it, then you start to develop the skills level with it. Again, I mentioned those colleagues who were in a group. So sometimes they were able to show me what they would have done, or I would show them what I did in my e-portfolio. And because of that willingness to share, I was able to see, oh, I can do this. This has the potential. We can do, and they also learned from me. So in sharing with your colleagues, that also helped making navigating the platform easier. And thankfully, you had people who you could have asked, okay, I'm having trouble doing a particular thing in this e-portfolio or whatever tool, and someone was willing to assist you. But it takes practice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
That's true. I agree with you, Lorraine. I remember when a lecturer would have reached out and said, I'm having issues accessing your e-portfolio, and it was a graded assignment. I would have reached out to the IT support, the IT, there's a specific name for them, a title for them, the person that supports you each semester. I'm not remembering the name of that person now, but the IT support, I would have reached out to them, and within maybe an hour or two, I was able to fix the issue and the lecturer was able to access the e-portfolio. So that again was very helpful. If there were any technological issues, the support that is provided to you each semester is very helpful. So if you need any assistance with even some of these things that you might not understand, the support that is provided by the Global Campus, very, very helpful.
Would it by chance be your learning support coordinator, you mean?
Thank you. That's the name. That's the name. Thank you.
You're welcome. Shanda, did you have anything to add in terms of
So,
any 10? Sorry,
well,
go ahead.
I agree with all what they have said. The orientation process, this for me topped the cake because everything was there. You were given quiz on how you were able to do whatever it is that they were teaching you to make sure that you really mastered it. So yes, the orientation process. And then I remember that she spoke about the e-portfolio. I remember having difficulty with the e-portfolio submission, but because we had already had group works and so on, I just reached out to one of my colleagues in a group chat, and the number of persons who say, oh, you do this, this, and that, I was able to submit. And then my lecturer said, okay, I can see you all now, and so on. So yes, you have the collaboration among colleagues, which helps. You also have the orientation process, which pretty much says everything that you need to know.
Awesome. And I know I see on our YouTube platform, we have our deputy principal. She's listening in, Dr. Emily Dick Ford, and she says this session is very engaging. And she thanks all of you for sharing your experiences, which is very much appreciated. And I know she will be happy to hear, especially you bigging up, so to speak, our Global Campus staff members who would have helped you along this journey. We also have a comment from Donna Edmond. She is saying, she's thanking you for sharing your experiences. And she said this is great for others who are pursuing higher education. So for many may not know that they have this access to higher education. So ladies, thank you so much once again for joining us this evening. And I want to ask you, in terms of the rigor of your respective program, how was it, especially, was it what you expected, and how would what you learned be used going forward in your future endeavors?
I smirked a little bit when you said the rigor and you say if it was what we expected. In the first semester, I'll never forget it. I remember the name of the course. I had a Caribbean lecturer, and I think it was the changing landscape of education. You remember that one, Lorraine? The changing landscape of education. And we were supposed to do an annotated bibliography. I've never heard of an annotated bibliography. And we got some guidelines, and I said, boy, you know, based on how this looks and this technology, I must can pass and sort out. Listen, man, I was battling down at the almost fail mark. I just had my hand over the line just to make sure that I was able to get over and not fail. But the rigor, it is really a quality program that allows you to think outside of the box. Or you might be saying, was there even a box to begin with? The quality of the work, the content, the learning materials, I knew I would have gotten, I know that they say you must read for your degree, but geez,
Didn't
the
expect that much
amount
reading.
of reading, you understand? It was a whole lot of learning materials. And then guess what? You see, after you get the learning materials and the learning exchange, they're referring you to the library for more reading. And I'm saying, wow. So the rigor, definitely, it is beyond what I expected it to be. Challenging because it's a doctoral program. But
Yeah.
believe you me, when you're in it, it's a whole different kettle of fish.
Yes, I agree with what Sean Lee says. And when we first started, it felt overwhelming. You see, that first semester, as you're going back into studying and you're dealing with all the demands and you're trying to get everything done, it was overwhelming for me, but I grew into it. And you know, when I really appreciated the pressure and doing all these little tasks is when I got to doing the research for the doctoral program and having to cover a lot of content, having to, that annotated bibliography that we had to do. You know, all of that came in handy in the long run. And that is how I understood what it meant to have building blocks towards the end goal. So in the beginning, sometimes it's frustrating. I'm not going to say I wasn't frustrating. I didn't have challenges. But once you hold on, in the end, you see everything start coming together. Yeah.
And I want to add to your statement, Lorraine, that the organization, so yes, there was rigor, but the way in which the courses were organized, it flowed into that research paper, where for me, that was the most challenging part. But because I had gone through the entire process and I had seen how things were going, I felt comfortable that I could deliver that research paper because of all of the exposure, the feedback, and so on that I would have gotten throughout the program. I felt comfortable that I would have delivered.
Awesome. Now that we've spoken about rigor, I want to know, we, the listening audience, want to know, how did you manage to maintain a healthy work life and study balance? I know you ladies, you're either married, you have children, you would have your extracurricular activities, be it church or clubs, and then you still have your studies to complete. How did you balance it all, especially with the demands of online learning?
So I alluded to it earlier. I had a schedule. So I like structure. I love structure. So I had schedules that allowed me to know when I should get up from here and take a break, know when I should come back to the desk and focus on my studies and to focus on my family. But don't get me wrong, even though there's a schedule, you deviate because life happens. So you won't be able to always adhere to the schedule as you would have outlined it. But if you have something in place that helps you to, I love ticking off check boxes. So when I have my check boxes ticked off, I feel better knowing that I deserved and earned my break. And then when I take my break, if I'm taking too long, I say, Shawnee, come on now. You paid for this program. Go and focus. And I would get up and do what I have to do. But definitely the structure and the scheduling helped me to ensure that that work-life balance was maintained.
And in addition to the scheduling, because I'm a person like that as well, 1 hour is to do this, another hour is to do that. But what was really important for me was knowing myself or learning about myself, my strengths and my weaknesses as a learner, and compensating for that. So for example, we have discussion forum, and you have those bright persons who will drop like 5 posts on an evening. Good. And I, Lorraine Nero, know I could only handle 2, right? So I knew, okay, you can handle 2, you're not going to do 5. And for you to do 2, it means you have to get up in the morning, you have to read what all those bright persons put in the discussion forum, think about it, and do something in the evening. So the race is not with the others. The race is not necessary to keep up with the others, but the race is with yourself, knowing what you are capable of and doing that. So that help kept me focused and balanced as well. And knowing yourself is to know when you're tired, when you need to take a break, when you need to go and watch your Netflix, when you need to go and walk, when you need to just do something to relax, and coming back and having the willpower to come back no matter what interrupts your flow. That helped me with my work-life balance. Yeah.
I held on to the mantra, sacrifice, Shanda, sacrifice. So when I felt like I was tired and I wanted a break, I would remind myself that it was a sacrifice. So whilst I like keeping time, so time management is my thing. Remember, I have 3 children and I have 3 little children. So I had to remind them all the time, as well as remind myself that I had to sacrifice. So I didn't want them to feel neglected at any point in my journey. So when I get home from work, I would give them their time. When it's bedtime, they have to go to bed. And from then, when they go to bed, I would pick up. That would be my work time. So for me, I would say I would work best. I choose what worked for me was choosing the time that I was most productive. I get home from work, we all relax together. I do homework and so on, my chores. When I shut down with them, it's my personal time for work.
You ladies sound like super women because I don't know how you manage it all, children, work, and school. It just sounds, as you said, is definitely time management, but you also have to have that mental capacity as well. You whether it's going by the beach and staring off into space just to kind of zen in yourself, but wow.
And let me just add, I don't know about the others, but sometimes there is a fear in the background. There's a fear that you would not get the energy to continue. A fear that if at any point you stop, you are unable to take back up that rhythm of how you have been creating. So quite often that fear in the background help also push me to say, okay, Lorraine, you have taken a long break. It's time to get back into it. Yes, that fear and motivation.
That's
Awesome.
it. I agree with you, Lorraine. So one thing that students, either current students or prospective students that are applying or are students or at UWI Global Campus, it's very important that you have some intrinsic motivation, find ways to motivate yourself. It is very important because this is a self-paced program. When it means self-paced, you're independent. You don't have someone saying, hi, I realize that your assignment is late. It is all up to you. So when Lorraine speaks of that fear, use that fear to drive you to ensure that you see your program to its completion. And I think we all have that fear. Anybody that takes on online learning has to have that kind of discipline, and then the fear also of not completing. So definitely ensure that you find some way, either you can find it externally, so it can be family or some support, but in yourself, for yourself, ensure that you are self-motivated, because you're going to need to draw on yourself in those times when it's hard to see it through to the end. And believe you me, it is likely to take place.
Wow. And on that note, I want to remind those who are watching that applications are still open for January 2025. So if you're inspired or you have been inspired by what you've heard here today, you can visit our website at global.uwi.edu/apply and take that next step towards your educational journey. And ladies, could you believe we have 12 more minutes and I still have questions for you? So I am going to give you my next question. What have you been doing since you've completed your studies? After all that work, what have you been doing now?
I've been taking a breather. That's what I've been doing. Because let me tell you, I would have gotten my completion letter in September. And I have to give a special shout out to my librarian who assisted me with my library review, Daisy St. Rose. If it wasn't for Daisy, I might not have been in this session because she was really supportive, very helpful. So I just got my completion letter and I'm taking a breather, Charisse, right now. But the plans for the future, I'm hoping, because my research supervisor was Dr. Elvis Nurse, and I just need to reach out to him because I need to publish. We need to publish. Dr. Nurse, if you're watching this, hi, we need to publish.
Yes,
So
Dr.
that's the plan for the future. But right now, I'm taking a breather.
Understood.
Yes, I am taking a breather, but one opportunity has come up and I had to grasp it, right? So, so part of my research was looking at librarian and students' perception of how we teach with technology and so on. So the Department of Library and Information Studies at Mona, they are now going through a process where they are going to look at the curriculum. And I've asked, because of this experience, to sit and assist them with that. So, and bearing in mind that the Department of Library and Information Studies, they have been teaching their postgraduate programs online, right? So the experience of teaching with technology should infuse into whatever review is taking place. So that is one outcome that has happened. And I am still taking a breather. But next year, I am hoping to get the results out, either in a conference, in publications, etc. Yes, I cannot let it rest. Too much energy went into getting this done.
Yeah. So Lorraine, you're definitely doing what Sean Lee would have spoken about earlier and earning that the right to be called Dr. Nero, correct?
Yes.
So unlike my colleagues who have already attained their doctoral, they can afford to take a breather. I am now searching for what I want to do next, my next step. I have some options. I'm weighing out my options. Yes, UWI, of course, is the number one option.
Yes.
But so that's what I'm doing. I'm exploring my next step to my doctoral.
Awesome. And I'm sure you will find something that really resonate with what you want to do as well. You seem like the type of person who would not let go until you have what you want.
Certainly.
We have a message on our YouTube platform. They're shouting out to Sean Lee and also want to thank the other ladies as well for sharing their experiences. They're telling you all well done, indeed. I want to ask you now, what final piece of advice would you give to prospective students in regards to the value of a degree from the UWA Global Campus and how to make the most of their experiences starting in January? So not only to students who are now starting, but there may be students who are going to be registering for January who are already on that journey, but they may be discouraged and you just want to give them some piece of advice to keep holding on. What advice would that be?
There is no better time to start than now. That's one. You have to believe in yourself and let the fear that my colleague spoke about, let it drive you. Thirdly, create that support system. Surround yourself with a community that can uplift you. It could be family, it could be friends, it could be colleagues, but you need that support system to navigate through life on a whole, not just the educational journey. So if you surround yourself with that positive support system and you believe in yourself, I believe that there is nothing that you cannot attain.
Yes, that's excellent, Shanda. Adding to what you would have said, definitely I agree 100% with what Shanda would have shared, but just ensure also that you take time for yourself, because a lot of times we focus on, oh, I have to get this done, or I have to get that done, and then we have burnout, and you don't want that to happen. So always try to find and to schedule in some time for yourself and for your family. Schedule in time. Cherise would have asked us earlier, what do we do for fun? What do we do to unwind? Ensure that you fit that into your schedule as well, so that you can have that type of balance that is required to see this through to the end. And remember that when you get a certification from the UWI Global Campus, it is internationally recognized, please.
Exactly.
You
Yes.
understand? So you walk with that degree knowing that, oh, you went to, yes, I went to UWI. And I did it through the Global Campus, because guess what? You're telling them that I never had to go and sit down in a class. I was, meaning a brick and mortar class. I was online, flexible. I was in a class in my car. I was in a class at the ice cream shop. So definitely just know that you have that brand, you have those competencies when you are complete. So you can look towards the end as well when you are on your journey, and that will help.
And I just want to take up on the theme of this whole discussion, journey. It is a journey. It is not a competition with everyone else. If you remove that element, your whole educational experience will be different. You will be open to learning from others, open to sharing, and you will be amazed where in sharing with others, you also learn more. And if you take it as a journey and you're moving at your own pace, even if someone is excelling, celebrate them. Watch what they're doing, admire them. If you can replicate what they are doing to help you, that's fine. On a journey, you're going to have the highs and you're going to have the lows. Maybe there might be a time when you need to take a semester off or you need to take a break. That is fine. Once you hold on to the journey and you get to the end. When we started in 2019, it looked like a long time. Oh my gosh, this is 4 or 5 years. But it went so quickly. And at the end, you know, I am glad that that journey started. And here we are today.
Yeah, it's true.
Yes.
And the time is going to pass, whether you choose to study or not to study, it's still going to pass anyway. So you might as well, you know, take that step. And I want to take that note, to remind those who are watching, again, our application period is open and remains open for those who want to apply for January 2025. So you have until Sunday, December 15th for our undergraduate program application, and just Saturday, November 30th. 2 more days to apply for postgraduate programs. You can log on to our website at global.uwi.edu/apply. That is global.uwi./apply. And I want to finish off by just thanking the 3 of you for joining us today and for making this program a success. Thanks to our panelists, Shanda Coffey Johnson from Dominica, Dr. Sean Lee Monty Brown from Jamaica, and Dr. Lorraine Nero from Trinidad and Tobago. On behalf of us here at the UWI Global Campus, we want to wish you continued success in everything you do, be it more studies, your family time, and also your careers. And we know that based on the foundation that you've laid down, we only expect to see greater things from you in the future. And we definitely will be looking out for your published documents as well. And we also want to thank Mr. Patrick Johnson for handling all the technical matters, as well as Ms. Marcia Reed for handling your questions and queries. On today's discussion, we would have shown that the UWI Global Campus opens doors to learning and growth across the Caribbean and the world. We hope that you are inspired to start your own journey. And once again, thank you for joining us. Until next time, I am Cherise Glasgow. Bye.